My name is Taylor Coate, and today I'm going to be discussing my applied project in which I was comparing a forward chain to a total task analysis when reviewing and teaching life skills. So, research rationale was to explore forward chaining or a total task to see which one is more effective with shoe tying for our participant who was diagnosed with autism. The research question that was asked is forward chaining more effective than total task analysis and improving mastery in the shoe tying skill. Our participant, his initials are NL. He receives one-on-one direct therapy in a clinical setting, which we are focusing primarily on his daily living skills, fine motor skills, and then also some sensory um, alternative behaviors. Again, he is 5 and he has been diagnosed with autism. The social validity, these strategies are often used with visual supports and they do help become these kids become more independent. Um, the the social validity for this one in particular is to build the independence and confidence. So the participant isn't having to mainly rely on parents or an adult to help him when he is learning these skills. Previous research was showing that video modeling helped a lot when it came to presenting a chaining procedure like a backwards chain, and then also a total task by itself um, demonstrated that mastery came with the kids that are diagnosed with autism. So for my research project, the design that I did was an alternative treatment design. The reason for that was because I was teaching a skill that couldn't be untaught. So I did alternative in which I did phase changes. My independent variable was the chaining procedures. So the two phases and the different types were forward chain and a total task. The dependent variable was the shoe tying skill by itself. How I collected data with my RBTs is it was a task analysis. So each step would have what um, the the step that needed to be completed and what type of prompting that the tech could do. So like in a forward chaining, the first step would have all the phases or all the prompts that they could prompt the individual because it's a targeted skill. And then the rest would just be full physical to signify that this is a forward chain prompt, prompt, least to most, and then full physical. And then when it came to the task analysis, every step was available and every step had prompting in which used least to most. For baseline, there was no teaching and prompting that occurred during the baseline trials. So from sessions 1 through 5, the treatment team was not presenting any prompting. Um, the treatment team would present the SD of tying shoes to NL and record the data based on the steps that he couldn't and could do and he was able to complete essentially. For the first part of the intervention, so phase 1, forward chaining, was presented with reinforcement after the completion of the charted step. So step 1. After he completed that, he got the reinforcement that he was requesting. And then phase 2 of the intervention, the total task, in which it was presented with reinforcement after the completion of all the targeted steps. So he had to complete all the steps before you can get reinforcement. Um, so let's dive into the results. During baseline, so sessions 1 through 5, NL performed, remained pretty low, but it was it stayed the same, like subtle and stable. Um, it averaged from 0% to 22% for independent steps. Um, Another, I was discussing that I did forward chaining. Initially, I was actually going to do backwards chaining, but based on the results and the steps that he was able to complete more of the beginning steps versus the end steps. So that was the reason why I wanted to build the confidence of the skill itself because shoe tying can be very overwhelming, just especially with the fine motor portion of it. So I changed the project based on the data and the completion he was able to do in baseline. So now going into phase one, his performance did increase dramatically, which was from 0% in session six all the way up to 100% in session seven. There was a brief decline in session eight, which I think that from discussion and debriefing with my team, I think that session seven's data was actually incorrect when I reviewed it. I think that the tech um, wasn't running the target correctly. So I think that session seven's data is actually an outlier and should be zero. But session 9 and 10 did show 100%. So since this was still the first step, he was able to complete the the first step, which was picking up the shoelaces um, for those two sessions. And I did do IOA data on those, so they're accurate. So once we introduced phase two, he did have a decline. So he declined 33% in session 11 and had more of a decline in session 12 to 11%. So overall, with reviewing the graph and reviewing how he engages with the text and completing the skill, I will change this to a forward chain moving forward because he is having higher success with it. Another behavior I was seeing when I was doing IOA was that he would state, I don't know. I don't know how to do this, and kind of waiting for the tech to kind of give into it. So that behavior was put on extinction with this. So we're going to develop these skills so he can know that, hey, I know how to do this. I don't need to say I don't know. And if I do need help, I can just request it. So if we look at the graph, it's really small, but it kind of shows the data that I was discussing earlier. So down here, session one, two are 0%. And then he does have an increase to 22% across three and four, and then 11% down here at session 11. This is the data for the forward chain. So session six, he scored zero. Session seven, ideally, it states 100%. From observation, it actually should be zero, but I know it's an outlier and we're stating it. And then session eight, back to zero. He goes up to 100% across 9 and 10. With the phase change, it goes down to 33, then 11% completely. So overall, the forward chain has the higher scores, higher success, and he's developing the independence for shoe tying compared to the total task. I think another reason why total task might be showing less um, independence with the completion is because it is kind of overwhelming, especially with higher functioning kids and just anyone learning a new skill when there is multiple steps. It can be very overwhelming and very challenging. So I think developing with the forward chain helps them learn each step if they have that ability to do the first step. I did use some of my research from the references below with this. Um, so yeah, the step-by-step approach likely reduce cognitive load and reinforce mastery of each step. So I think that the forward chain is going to give him more independence and less feeling like he needs help because he's gonna gain the confidence that I can do step one, I can do step two. He's getting reinforcement after those completions. The limitations, I kind of discussed this in the results section, but data collection was inaccurate based on observation um, in the data itself. And with IOA data, I had to have conversations with with the RBT regarding how to run different types of chaining procedures, redirecting him back to the procedure itself and showing him where he can identify each one. So it was clear. So that was kind of another thing. So future research should include more IOA to improve accuracy and replicate finding with more participants. And I have my reference section at the below. Thank you for watching. Yeah.